Welcome to the Revenue Marketing Report powered by CaliberMind. I'm your host, Camela Thompson, and today I'm joined by Jeff Loeb. Jeff, day 2, thank you so much. Yesterday we talked about what ABM is and isn't, and today we're going to get a little bit more into the tactics, which we hinted about, but didn't fully dive into. And I know there's so many places we could go. Let's talk a little bit about the tactics that are deployed after we know who our target accounts are.
Yesterday's conversation around intent was a real good starting point to this, because it all starts with the set of accounts that we want to target with. And the more we can leverage intent data to help drive that, the better. Now, as we move down from there and kind of assume, okay, we've got our target accounts. Now, how do we want to begin our outreach and our engagement? Now is probably a good time to introduce, the idea of the 3 flavors of ABM, right? So people love to talk about the 3 flavors of ABM, usually referred to as one-to-one, one-to-few, or one-to-many. And what that really means is how many accounts you're going after, and kind of by virtue of that, how much customization and personalization and how heavy of a touch that you're going to put into each of those accounts. So if you're looking at a one-to-one program, you typically have a smaller number of accounts that you're focused on. And again, it depends on how many resources that you have. I've been involved with organizations that have implemented ABM programs that only had 10 or 20 accounts, and it was very much a one-to-one based approach. An example was a AI and robotic company that sold multi-million-dollar warehouse management and warehouse automation systems, and there are probably only 100 potential customers, in the world for those solutions, right? So it was a very heavy touch to a small number of organizations. I've implemented ABM programs where the total market had 1,000 companies, 1,000 prospects, but they each had long-term contracts, and we had very good visibility to when those contracts were about to expire. So in any given year, there were only maybe 20 possible customers. So we aimed our ABM program just at those 20 customers, right? And those are great examples of perfect candidates for a one-to-one program that has super high levels of customization. So in both of those cases that I just described, part of the tactics where we created customized web pages, landing pages for those companies, where every aspect of the page was customized. The hero image was an image of that reflected their brand and had their logo. The messaging, the demonstration of our understanding of their business and their problems were all really brought to life in that customized landing page on the website, microsite, really, more than a landing page. So as an example, for one-to-one, that level of customization at the website level is super effective and super important. But then as you go down the chain to one-to-few and one-to-many, if you're in a one-to-few mode, maybe you're going after, say, 100 to 1,000 accounts, right? Something like that. The few aspect of it is you're still personalizing, but rather than personalizing to the individual company level, you're personalizing around a vertical or a persona or some segmentation scheme that is not the same for everybody. You're personalizing it to their problem, but not necessarily to their company. And then in a one-to-many motion, you really open it up much, much wider, and there's less personalization involved, right? So to the question of kind of what tactics work, you have to really start with your understanding of your motion, right? Is it one-to-one, one-to-few, one-to-many? Another dimension that, I'll bring in to this as well is, how do you know whether ABM is right for you, and how do you know which flavor of ABM is right for you? And I've got this little 2x2 grid that I use to talk this through, with the companies that I work with. And one axis has to do with the complexity of the solution and the buying process. And it also is related to how expensive it is, right? Is this a $1 million solution, a $100,000 solution, a $20,000 solution? How long does the buying process take? Is it, a year long? Is it 2 weeks long? That whole complexity, and how complex is the buying team? Who's involved in the decision making, right? So there's that whole kind of complexity of the sales process is one dimension. And then the other dimension, say that's the x-axis. So what's the y-axis is really around the maturity of your go-to-market team. So how many resources you have? Do you have a full-bodied marketing team in place? Do you have the ability to do a lot of personalization? Do you have a really healthy MarTech stack? Do you have an SDR team? Do you have the ability to report really well, do attribution, understanding where things are coming from, the ability to kind of score accounts at the account level versus at the individual contact level? Do you have the right tools from a sales outreach perspective to manage sales cadences? And do you have sophisticated salespeople, right? So those are all kind of dimensions of go-to-market maturity. If you then think of kind of 4 quadrants, and you start maybe with the most complicated one in that upper right, where okay, it's super complicated system, maybe that robotic solution that I referred to earlier would be a great example of that. Year-long sales cycle, $1 million deals, a lot of people involved in the buying process. And then you also have a super mature go-to-market team between sales and marketing. This is where you can start contemplating doing, really heavy-duty one-to-one ABM programs, right? And that whole kind of set of tactics. Whereas if you go to the other extreme, so let's say you're in the grid that is, okay, it's not a very complicated product. The sales process, maybe there's one buyer, the sales cycle is small, it's a $5,000 item. And then maybe also your go-to-market team is pretty immature as well. That's like, don't touch, kind of mode.
Yeah.
So there's different tactics, depending upon where you are. And in small to mid-sized businesses, the biggest challenge often being in that the go-to-market team doesn't have a high level of sophistication, right? So maybe it's a startup company, maybe they don't have a really fleshed out MarTech stack, don't have great technology to do intent and lead scoring and attribution and all those kinds of things. Maybe they don't have an SDR team. And then you have to kind of question, okay, is this the right motion? And that's when you start thinking of maybe more of an ABM light program, right? Let's start bringing in some of these concepts, but kind of keep the program, more lightweight.
Yeah, so many things are running through my head, like audience sizes and the viability for advertising versus very targeted direct mail seems like something that might work really well for the one-to-one, very small. But let's talk about kind of middle of the range. Maybe we have intent, but we haven't instrumented it super well. The sales team is on board. I've seen, a lot of tactics deployed, email, digital advertising, some personalization on the website. But what I see at the center of everything a lot of times is that high value offer. Can we talk about that a little bit and the thought that goes into that in like the middle of the road scenario? I know this is
Yeah.
hard.
Yeah, sure. High value offers is one of my favorite topics. So love to talk about this. So just to set the scene, so we're reaching out to this target account audience that may or may not have purchase intent, may or may not be familiar with our brand. We've done all of this work to drive awareness of us. We've done outreach. We've connected, through over multiple channels, sales emails, marketing emails, LinkedIn, phone calls, the whole array of stuff, right? And now we finally have the conversation. So we've engaged and we're trying to get people to take a meeting, to have a serious kind of conversation with us. And this is where the high value offer comes in, because sure, we can do webinars and we can, have ebooks and all those, traditional things, and we can try to do a demo and all those traditional tactics. But those things tend not to offer a tremendous amount of value, right? There's obviously some value, there's thought leadership associated with it, but it may not be compelling enough to get a senior level person, because typically, well, we're targeting the range, but we're trying to get to the decision makers. And what's going to interest a decision maker? And that's where the idea of a high value offer comes in. And the high value offer, again, involves some level of personalization, some level of customization. So again, it ranges, for, the one-to-one, you can put a lot of effort into it. For, one-to-many less, but you asked to talk about that middle case, right? So how do we do this in a way that adds value, but with some scale, right? That's not going to kind of kill us, every time we do a high value offer. And that's really the trick, what is finding that high value offer, that thing that is really going to interest a senior level person to take a meeting. And usually it's some unique experience that's personalized to them, that adds value, that provides some insight that they don't already have, either about the challenges within their business, best practices, or maybe, how they compare to others in the industry.
Oh, yeah. And I love the maturity curve self-assessment with highly personalized recommendations. We did that together, and I'm a content marketer at heart, so I loved setting it up, first of all. But it's really cool because it's something that I would want to do if I was in their shoes. Where do I rank against other people and what can I fix? That's great.
And how do you make it interactive and engaging? Your profession, content marketing, has been incredibly successful over the last 10 or 15 years. And there's been this whole movement around content. And content is awesome and it's so important, but it's been so successful. There's just so much of it out there, now, right? So how do you make your content stick out? How do you make it as engaging? How do you create an experience around it? And that's where developing interactive, engaging tools can be so powerful, that do these assessments, like maturity model assessments, as an example, right? And there's a lot of great tools that are out there that are making it easier and easier to create these experiences.
I just love your emphasis on the experience, because is so important. Can we give some examples of an interactive play? I know a lot of our listeners are in B2B SaaS with products, 50K plus a year. Something interactive like a self-assessment. How do we really hook people in?
Let's give a couple of examples of high value offers that are using kind of these interactive tools. And I can give a couple of examples from my organization, Chief Outsiders. So again, we're fractional sales and marketing executives that are targeting mid-sized businesses, CEOs, helping them with their growth strategies, right? That's what we're trying to sell. So it fits into that category of a pretty sophisticated, sales process. So we've built out two of these assessments that we use, both as part of our sales process, but also part of our engagement process, because they're so valuable, that they offer a lot of value in our engagements. And one of them is based on, we have a methodology which we call growth gears, and it's kind of the core to the way that we think about developing growth strategies. And there's three kind of core components to that. There's an insights phase where you need to understand your own internal capabilities as well as the competition and customers. And there's a strategy phase. Okay, based on those insights, what's the strategy that's going to enable us to grow? And then there's an execution phase. So we basically built an assessment tool that allows us to define kind of where you are from a maturity perspective in each of those three buckets. And we actually added a fourth one around performance. In a very short amount of time, identifies like the big issues, right? The most important issues, because it's a discovery, amongst other things, it's a discovery acceleration vehicle. When you're engaged in doing a discovery call, there's a lot of rat holes, that you can find yourself going down into that are important, but then all of a sudden you realize time's up and all we did was uncover that one area. So part of the beauty of these kinds of tools is that you've created this landscape that you're able to kind of explore, from end to end. The beauty of it, and we do it in two ways. A prospect can take this in a self-service way, and they get a report at the end that gives them a lot of recommendations. And that works in a lot of use cases, right? And we can use this as a tool, an offer on our website. But in more of the ABM motion, we want to have a quality conversation, and we want to actively walk through that assessment with the prospect, because it gives us an opportunity to engage at a deeper level and really demonstrate our expertise. So it kind of goes back to that experience that we talked about. As part of the process, we're giving them this taste of the value we can provide. That's one example. Another example is right now, here we are in 2024, and AI has been storming, the world for the last year or so. And in 2023 was kind of the year that everyone talked about AI and talked about how it was going to impact their product roadmap and how they were going to enable it. And maybe they were bolting some, AI capabilities on the front end. But 2024 is really, the year of executing, right? And really kind of finding that unique high value way that AI is going to help your business. Our customers and prospects are all asking us, how do I identify opportunities both internally in my business from, a productivity perspective? How can we apply AI in sales and marketing to make, our go-to-market engine better? And then also externally, how can we take our product, what are the best opportunities to embed AI in our product as well? So these are our conversations that we're having every day. So we built another high value offer, which was an AI assessment that helps to identify where organizations are in their AI journey and make recommendations, for them as well. And as we talked about before, it can be used either as a standalone thing, but what we really want to do is have a guided conversation where we can do really deep discovery and understand what their issues are, but also can demonstrate, our strengths and capabilities to drive a sales process.
I just think it's such a smart thing, and I've adopted it for my own freelancing. It's great on a lot of levels. I think just about any company can use this survey to not only figure out if they're truly in their ICP and set up in a way that would work well with their product, but also offer valuable advice. So if I set up a 30-minute call with someone to see if I'm a fit with them, I do have a survey have them fill out ahead of time so I can have a more narrow conversation and we go through it together to figure out exactly what certain things mean. And we can talk high level about where we're going as we do it. So I've seen this used in so many applications. It's such a great play.
Just following up on what you just described, not only is it efficient and drives a really good, effective process, but what I love about is it demonstrates your value. I always talk about it as you want the first bite of the apple to taste really good. And if you go through that process that you just described, you go, wow, this Camela really has her act together. This is amazing. This is so efficient. This is a great process. Wow. And that's what you want, right? You want people to evoke that kind of emotion.
Yeah. Yeah. If you have an expert, leverage that.
Yeah.
It's perfect. Jeff, thank you so much for sharing so much knowledge with us on the show. Where can people find you to network or perhaps learn more about Chief Outsiders?
Yeah, sure. So if you go to chiefoutsiders.com, you can learn all about Chief Outsiders, and then you can find me there. All of the CMOs and CSOs all have profiles there. And of course, you can find me on LinkedIn. And I also have a YouTube channel that has lots of great videos and best practices and go-to-market stuff you might want to check out too.
Awesome. It's been a pleasure. Thank you so much again. Listeners, thank you so much for tuning in to the Revenue Marketing Report. Please tell 2 friends, subscribe, download, whatever you can helps. And for those of you looking for more great content like this, check out calibermind.com.